Welcome back to the Midnight Library. Each night we explore one of the world's most celebrated non-fiction personal development or spiritual books and gently transform it into a calming bedtime journey. Here in the quiet halls of the Midnight Library, you're invited to fall asleep not just with ease, but with insight. Tonight's sleep story is based on The Gut-Brain Paradox by Dr. Stephen R. Gundry, a compelling exploration of how your gut health is intimately connected to your mental clarity, mood, and even long-term neurological wellness. If you're enjoying these stories, we'd love to know where in the world you're listening from. Maybe you're cozied up in bed in Reykjavik, drifting off in a hammock in Cartagena, or listening from the window seat of a slow train through New Zealand's South Island. Wherever you are, we're glad you've joined this global community of listeners. Now, settle in. Let's gently explore the secrets your body has been holding all along, the wisdom of your gut, and how nurturing it can lift the fog and bring you back to yourself. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Dialogue Between Gut and Brain. We begin not in the brain, but in the gut. It may surprise you, but your intestines house an entire world of living beings, trillions of microorganisms known collectively as your microbiome. And they don't just digest your food, they communicate constantly and subtly with your brain. This two-way communication, called the gut-brain axis, is one of the most delicate and influential systems in your body. Dr. Stephen Gundry argues that most of our emotional turbulence, brain fog, and even degenerative brain diseases can be traced back to disruptions in this silent dialogue. Imagine your brain and your gut having a lifelong conversation, but over time, processed food, artificial additives, antibiotics, and stress begin to interrupt that flow. It's like trying to have a heartfelt chat in the middle of a noisy traffic jam. The result? Misunderstandings, overreactions, inflammation, anxiety, mental fatigue, and a creeping sense that you're not quite yourself anymore. This is the paradox. To fix the mind, we often need to start with the belly. So tonight, we'll journey gently into that inner ecosystem, and perhaps as your body relaxes, your microbes will begin to whisper again. Chapter 2. The fog that wasn't just in your head. You've likely experienced it. That sense of mental heaviness. Not quite sadness, not quite fatigue, just a dullness, a fog. You misplace words, struggle to focus, feel disconnected from your spark. For years, doctors chalk this up to age, stress, or hormones, but Gundry's research suggests that something far more fundamental may be happening, that your mental cloudiness could be a symptom of a gut microbiome out of balance. Certain foods, particularly ultra-processed ones, feed the wrong kinds of bacteria. These bad actors release toxins known as lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. And these molecules can escape into your bloodstream, triggering widespread inflammation. When they reach the brain, they can alter mood, memory, and mental performance. So if you've ever wondered why you feel more alert after leafy greens, or groggy after fast food, you're not imagining it. Your gut is setting the tone for your mind. The good news is that brain fog isn't permanent. Like a misty morning that clears with sunlight, it begins to lift when you feed your inner garden what it needs. And it all starts with listening. Chapter 3. Microbes as mood shapers. In your digestive tract live entire species of bacteria that produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. Chemicals that regulate everything from mood to sleep to motivation. In fact, over 90% of your body's serotonin is made in the gut, not the brain. Think of serotonin as your body's inner peacekeeper. And dopamine, that's your internal spark, your let's do this energy. When your gut is inflamed, your peacekeeper goes offline, and the spark fizzles into fatigue. Gundry shares the story of patients who struggled for years with anxiety and depression, only to find relief not through medication, but by removing gut-disrupting foods and introducing fermented vegetables, prebiotic fibres, and healthy fats. Like sunlight returning to a long-neglected garden, their mental clarity bloomed once more. So if you're lying in bed tonight, heart racing or thoughts circling there, know that healing may begin in a place you hadn't considered. And with each breath, with each moment of stillness, your body is listening. Chapter 4. A Revolution in Understanding the Mind. In the stillness of night, it's easy to believe that your thoughts, feelings, and memories arise solely from your brain, that your emotional ups and downs are the product of neurotransmitters, genetics, or perhaps just a stressful day. But a quiet revolution is taking place in neuroscience and medicine. Modern science is radically rethinking what it means to have a healthy mind. We've long been told that mental clarity, emotional balance, and cognitive resilience depend on brain chemistry or personal willpower. But more and more, researchers are turning their gaze inward to a system most of us overlook entirely: your microbiome. This vast community of microorganisms, made up of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and archaea, outnumbers your human cells, and the majority of them live not in your brain, but in your digestive tract. These tiny beings don't just digest food, they influence everything from immune responses and hormone production to how you process stress, pleasure, pain, and motivation. In many ways, the microbiome is the original operating system of human behaviour: quiet, ancient, and largely subconscious. And when it changes, so do you. Through the vagus nerve, a thick electrical superhighway between your belly and brain, these microbes send a steady stream of chemical messages. Many of those messages are postbiotics, chemical compounds that act like neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, GABA. All created, modulated, or mimicked by gut bacteria. When the microbiome is in balance, these signals promote calm, focus, satisfaction, and connection. But when the microbial environment becomes distorted, through antibiotics, sugar-laden diets, environmental toxins, or chronic stress, the conversation shifts. Suddenly your thoughts race, your mood dips, brain fog settles in, but it's not you that's confused, it's your internal messengers. As you drift off to sleep, that imagine these signals flowing like river currents, invisible but powerful, and tonight we begin to guide them gently back to calm. Chapter 5: Hunger, Cravings, and the Microbes that Whisper. You might think hunger is your body's way of telling you it needs energy, and sometimes it is. But hunger can also be an echo, a whisper from microscopic creatures inside you, asking to be fed. These whispers don't come from your brain, they come from your gut. Your microbiome is a diverse ecosystem, a community of species with different preferences. Some thrive on leafy greens, resistant starches, and fibre. Others feast on sugar, processed fats, and artificial sweeteners. When one group dominates, usually the sugar-loving kind, it begins to hijack your brain's reward system. These microbes produce compounds that stimulate dopamine release when you eat sweets, intensifying the sense of reward. They delay satiety signals so you feel hungry sooner and more often. They even generate stress signals to increase your urgency to eat. In a healthy state, the gut tells your brain when you're nourished, and peace returns. But when the gut is dominated by opportunistic species, it becomes a manipulator, nudging you toward the foods they want. Some microbes even promote addictive behaviour by feeding off substances like alcohol or nicotine. The more you consume, the stronger these strains grow, reinforcing the cycle from the inside out. This is why diets so often feel like battles. You're not just fighting temptation, you're negotiating with ancient life forms that are trying to survive. And yet the path back to equilibrium is not force, but balance. By gradually feeding the microbes that support your well-being through prebiotics, fermented foods, and periods of rest, you begin to change the conversation inside you. Let that be your gentle focus tonight. With each breath, imagine a shift in your cravings, from noise to calm, from compulsion to clarity. Chapter 6: Inflammation, Toxins, and the Fog. We don't see. Imagine your immune system not as an army, but as a thermostat. When everything is peaceful, it sits low, quietly regulating, conserving energy. But when bacterial toxins enter the bloodstream, the thermostat turns up, triggering alertness, even if no real threat exists. One of the most dangerous of these toxins is called lipopolysaccharide, or LPS. It's found on the outer wall of certain bacteria that thrive in inflamed guts. And when these bacteria multiply, LPS begins to leak into your bloodstream. These leaks are often microscopic, invisible, and yet their effect is profound. LPS creates a wave of chronic inflammation, a slow burn that affects everything it touches. Over time, it activates the immune cells in your brain, called microglia. These cells are usually your brain's caretakers, helping to clear waste and maintain healthy tissue. But when overstimulated, they become aggressive, releasing inflammatory molecules that interfere with memory, focus, and mood. You may not notice it at first. Maybe you feel a little more tired and aware, a little more distracted, a little more irritable. But these small changes accumulate, like mist filling a valley. This is what we call brain fog. Over months or years, this pattern can contribute to long-term neurological decline, linked not to aging, but to a leaking gut and a confused immune system. Yet, here's the paradox. Small exposures to the right kinds of microbial compounds, like those found in fermented foods or prebiotic fibres, can train the immune system rather than provoke it. They act like gentle teachers, helping the body learn tolerance instead of overreaction. This is why traditional diets, rich in rough plant fibres, legumes and cultured vegetables, support not only digestion, but mental peace. So as you lie back and breathe, know that your immune system is not a fighter tonight, it's a student, and the more it learns to listen, the less it needs to defend. Chapter 7. Addiction and the Gut's Hidden Influence. Addiction is often misunderstood as a moral failing or a lapse in willpower, but beneath the surface of behaviour lies a far more intricate biological reality, one that begins, surprisingly, in the gut. Inside your digestive system, certain microbial species respond to addictive substances like alcohol, opioids or nicotine as if they were food. These compounds promote the growth of specific bacteria, which in turn begin to influence your body's chemistry in subtle but profound ways. These microbes send signals that heighten stress, amplify cravings, and trigger reward responses in the brain. The more you consume, the more their populations grow, and the more they encourage you to consume again. A loop is created, not of failure, but of biology. Experiments in animals have shown that changing the microbiome can alter behaviour dramatically. Mice transplanted with the gut flora of addicted individuals begin to seek out substances they had never encountered before. Their brains, it seems, are being influenced by their microbial passengers. And in humans, studies reveal that dysbiosis, an imbalance in the gut ecosystem, is strongly linked to traits often found in addiction: anxiety, impulsivity, emotional dysregulation. So tonight, as your body rests, consider that even the pull of temptation may not originate in you, but in the ancient microbial signals rising from within. And as we learn to nourish and rebalance those internal communities, we can begin to gently reshape our habits, not by force, but through restoration. Let your breath slow. Let craving dissolve. Let your microbiome recalibrate, quietly, overnight. Chapter 8. Anxiety, Depression, and Microbial Mood. As we move deeper into the night, let's explore the landscape of mood. Anxiety, depression, mood swings. These experiences are so often framed as purely emotional or genetic or psychological. But what if they're also microbial? A growing body of research is revealing that many mood disorders correlate with specific imbalances in the gut. People experiencing depression often have lower levels of bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, molecules that help maintain the gut lining and reduce inflammation. When those microbes are depleted, the gut becomes more permeable, toxins leak into the bloodstream, and inflammation begins to influence the brain. In anxiety, we often see elevated levels of inflammatory species, bacteria that overactivate the immune system and interfere with neurotransmitter balance. Serotonin, dopamine, and GABA all are either directly produced or modulated by gut bacteria. When the wrong strains dominate, the brain's chemistry shifts, even before conscious feelings arise. And in eating disorders, the relationship becomes especially dramatic. Starvation and binge cycles radically reshape the gut environment. The resulting microbial changes can reinforce the very behaviours that caused them, suppressing satiety, increasing anxiety, and making recovery more difficult. Understanding mood through the lens of the microbiome doesn't erase the importance of therapy or medication, but it does offer a new layer of insight, a new terrain on which healing can begin. So tonight, if your heart has felt heavy or your thoughts scattered, let the science offer comfort. You're not broken. Your mind is responding to signals that can be softened, and in the silence of sleep, those signals begin to shift. Chapter 9. The Gut and the Aging Brain. Long before memory fades or movement slows, subtle changes begin to unfold within the brain. We call it aging. But what if the first signs don't start in the brain at all? What if they begin in the gut? As we grow older, the diversity of our microbiome tends to decline. Beneficial species, those that produce anti-inflammatory compounds and maintain the gut lining, begin to disappear. Meanwhile, more aggressive strains multiply, increasing gut permeability and flooding the bloodstream with microbial fragments. These fragments activate the immune system, triggering low-grade inflammation that reaches the brain. Over time, this chronic immune alertness begins to damage neurons and interfere with brain repair processes. Even more striking is the discovery that some bacterial proteins mimic those found in degenerative brain diseases. Bacterial amyloids, produced in the gut, resemble the plaques seen in Alzheimer's. The immune system sometimes struggles to tell the difference, reacting to both and accelerating the damage. But here too, there is hope. Diets rich in fermented vegetables, rough fibres and polyphenols, like those found in dark chocolate, berries, olives and coffee, help cultivate the protective microbes we need. So does intermittent fasting, which gives the microbiome time to reset and strengthen the gut barrier. Tonight, as your thoughts begin to quiet and your breathing deepens, know that age is not a sentence. It is a process, one that can be guided gently through nourishment and rest. With every night of sleep, your body repairs, your mind resets, and your microbiome quietly rebalances. Final chapter: A hidden garden of possibility. As we close our story tonight, let's return to where it all began, with the simple but profound idea that your gut is more than a digestive organ. It is a communicator, a teacher, a garden, and within that garden live trillions of microbial voices, each influencing how you think, how you feel, and how you age. When these voices fall into harmony, you experience mental clarity, emotional stability, and physical vitality. When they fall out of balance, the consequences ripple across your life, in your energy, your focus, your cravings, and your moods. The good news, as Dr. Stephen Gundry reminds us, is that this system can be transformed, not overnight, but over time, with small daily choices, with fibre, fermented foods, rest, sunlight, and stillness. So tonight, as your body surrenders to rest, imagine your microbiome not as a mystery, but as a partner, a living ecosystem ready to be nurtured, a source of power and peace. The science is evolving, but the message is already clear. If you want to think better, feel better, and live longer with clarity, start with your gut. Let sleep carry that message into your cells. Let your breath nourish the soil within you, and let morning arrive with new light, new energy, and a body that remembers how to heal. Thank you for joining us for tonight's story at the Midnight Library. Each week we take one of the world's most celebrated non-fiction, personal development, or spiritual books, and gently transform it into a bedtime story for your subconscious mind. If you're listening from a quiet cabin in Norway, a taxi in Seoul, a hammock in Costa Rica, or a cozy bed in Brooklyn, tell us where you're tuning in from. It's always a joy to hear where our Midnight Library community is growing. And if you have a book you'd like us to feature in a future episode, you can leave a comment or send a request our way. Until next time, sleep well, breathe deep, and may your inner world remain balanced and bright. Good night and sweet dreams.